Thank you so much, Shani. And yes, let's get started with regular expressions. I do have just 2 slides, and then we'll go right into memoQ and take a look at where regular expressions can be used and how to do it. Actually, with the latest version of memoQ, we also have a nice assistant that can help us with our regular expressions. I will show you some things that the assistant can do as well, just to know what regular expressions can do. So, well, actually, what is regular expressions? It's pattern matching. We're looking for things that we want to use for something else. So, for example, we might want to look for acronyms, things that consist of capital letters only, because we want to put them into a term base. So we need to find them in our text. Or we could use it to find things that are written slightly special. For example, product names, feature names that have capital letters inside of a word, that have numbers inside of a word. So things that are not regular terms, regular words, but things that we might want to treat special, like with the non-translatables list. So also, it's always important that we find the pattern that we're looking for. So all uppercase letters or combination of uppercase and lowercase letters. Then, of course, there is the whole area of date formats. So finding a date format and adjusting it for the target language, or maybe even using that kind of check in the QA check. You can use regular expressions there as well. And the patterns that we're looking for here are digits and delimiters, and sometimes even spaces in between. So we need that for finding something and replacing it with something else. Then we can use regular expressions for QA checking, for example. Similar like the dates, we find something like digits and a measurement unit and possible spaces. And we all know that the source text very often is quite inconsistent when it comes to the use of spaces. But in the translation, we want to be very consistent. We want to have the same digits, of course. We want to have the measurement unit, but we want to have, for example, a non-breaking space in between. So this can then be used for QA checking or also for the auto-translatables. Then we come to a different area where we're not searching and replacing things, but we're making placeholders. We're creating tags. So things in the documents that might consist of letters, digits, symbols, some special kind of character combination that the translators should not touch. They should not change it. They should use it at the right place in their translation. So we want to make it easy for the translators and make tags out of these. So we use that for tagging. And then in the end, we can also use regular expressions to extract text from a source file. Very often we have text-based source files, and the client tells us, well, everything between the quote marks needs to be translated. And this is something we need to tell memoQ about. So we need to find out what is the delimiter around the translatable text, and then create an import filter with regular expressions so that memoQ can see where the translatable text is and only extract that. So these are the things that I'm going to talk about right now. And feel free to put all your questions into the chat. Now let's get started with some simple searching, then going on into search and replace, tagging, and import. The sample files that I'm using here and also the settings to find things, the regular expressions themselves, you have received those with one of the emails from memoQ. So you can either work with me and go through the files or just watch and later on try it out yourself. First, I'm going to do a little bit of searching. To search with regular expressions, so to use these filtering fields or the search and replace dialog, I'll have to switch it to use regular expressions. You'll find that for the filtering fields in the settings icon, and there's a small checkbox that says use regex. And now, once you've done that, these filtering fields allow you to input not only regular text for filtering, but also regular expressions. And you will also see there's this small Rx, which is new in the latest version of memoQ. That's the regex assistant. And if we take a look inside, you will see that it has a cheat sheet So a whole list of regular expressions you might want to use, a little bit of explanation what it does. It has a field to find, and also if you want to open it up to replace, so you can use find and replace to just check out how your regular expression would work. You have a field where you can add some text to just see how the regular expression would then, what it would do to the text. You can insert the source segment where you are right now, or the target segment, to check out if the regular expression would work on that. And what I like best is the library. You can build up a list of the regular expressions that you have created that you want to reuse. There already is a list of things that comes with memoQ, but there's also, for example, I've put in a regular expression to find segments that consist of numbers only. And if you don't see it clearly, let me just take my magnifying glass here. Just a sec, it should come up as a small window to show the magnification. Doesn't? Okay, let's see. Doesn't seem to work together with Zoom. Sorry about that. I was hoping to give you a closer view on the regular expression. So let's just take a look at, and I'll tell you what I've written here. I've written a circumflex character, which means that's the beginning of a line, the beginning of a segment, basically. Then square brackets 0 to 9 means any one digit between a 0 and a 9. I don't know which digits there might be. I'm just telling memoQ, okay, look for anything that is a digit. Then I have a plus symbol after that square bracket, which means there could be more than just one digit. So there could be a combination of 2, 3, 4, 5, how many digits, whatever. And then I have a dollar symbol, and the dollar symbol says that's the end of the line, the end of the segment, which basically means here that from the beginning of the segment to the end of the segment, there's nothing but digits, maybe one, maybe more. So that's my regular expression for finding number-only segments. And this is something, if you have created such a regular expression, you can then put it into the library and reuse it whenever you need it. But that's for later. Now let's just get started with regular expression and search a little bit. Here we have things that look like acronyms. Let's find acronyms. In the search field, I'm looking for anything that has capital letters. Capital letters are written with a capital A, a dash, and a capital Z. Around that, I have the so-called square brackets for building a range. So I'm telling memoQ, show me anything that has one capital letter. Let me do the enter. And here it says, everything that's marked in yellow. It's also a new thing that we have in memoQ, that it's now marking things up in yellow. Now, this is not exactly what I was looking for, because now it's also marking up things that only have one capital letter. Well, let's see. I could do something like this. I could add another one and say another square bracket and say capital A to capital Z. Enter. Now it's looking up everything that has at least two capital letters in a row. Now let's take something else. I don't want to add as many capital letters as there might be in an acronym. I want to say, well, maybe there could be at least 3 capital letters and up to I don't know how many, and that's probably an acronym. So let's add a minimum and a maximum value for the acronyms. We do that with the curly brackets and put numbers in between. So the minimum value of how many characters need to come right after each other would be 2, then a comma, and then you can say, well, I don't know the upper value. I don't know how long these acronyms can be, so I just leave it empty. Let's press enter. And now it will show me everything that has at least 2 capital letters in a row, but possibly more. So this is a very, very easy way to find acronyms. You could also say it starts with 3 and goes up to 7. I only want to see those. So feel free to just play around with that a little bit and find out the acronyms that you're looking for. So let's undo the filter and look for something else. The next thing that might come to mind, and also from the presentation I gave at the beginning, product names, company names, things that are written in a very, very specific way, usually having a capital letter where a capital letter usually is not in regular words. So here we have my wonderful product, which starts with a capital letter, then has some small letters, then has another capital letter and some more small letters. So that would be my pattern, capital, small, capital, small. Let's do that. First, one capital letter, again, the square brackets, A to Z, followed by small letters. Again, the square brackets, small a to small z, which just remember that this is just matching one letter. I need to make sure that it matches as many small letters as they are in a row. And that's why I put a plus symbol in the end. So that means I'm starting with a capital letter, then I have small letters, one or more. The plus symbol means one or more. And then I have another capital letter. Let's do another capital A to capital Z, and some more small letters. So that's my combination. One capital, several small, or at least one small, another capital, one capital letter, and some more small letters. Press enter, and that's what you get. You get that kind of pattern now visible from your file. Of course, if your product names have numbers inside, you can also use that. For the numbers, instead of the A to Z, you would just use the 0 to 9. Yeah, I'm not using the regex assistant. That would be the regex assistant. That's just for trying out things. And you would have to copy your testing text inside. But if you really want to do the searching, then you want to do that within the filtering fields, or of course you can do it in the search and replace area as well. So let's open the search and replace dialog, Control and F for find. Actually, here's the trick. I usually use Control HH, which opens up the search and replace dialog and also directly in advanced mode. So Control HH, it opens up the big window, and then make sure that you have switched to regex here so that you can see the RX. If you click on that orangey color, that means you're now in the regular search mode, so searching for text only. If you click on that blue one, it switches to regex mode, and now we can put in our regular expressions up here. The next thing I would like to search for is not letters, but numbers. And here you can see I have digits plus a symbol. And sometimes there's a space in between, sometimes not. Sometimes there's several spaces. We all know source texts are inconsistent. So what I want to find is the combination of digits and this percentage symbol. For the digits, we actually have two different ways how we can do that. We can use the square brackets and the 0 to 9 for one digit between 0 and 9, or we could use another notation, that's the backslash and the D. Now, the main difference is with the backslash D, you would also find digits in Chinese and Japanese text where the digits have been written as double byte characters. The square bracket 0 to 9 would only find digits that are written as single byte characters. So yes, they do find digits, both of them, but depending on what languages you're working on, for Chinese and Japanese and double byte letters or digits, it might make more sense to use the backslash D. Now, backslash D finds one digit, so we'll just say find next, so it finds one digit. Click next, it finds one digit. If I put the plus in the end, that means one digit or more in a row. So let's click find next, find next. So now it finds any combination of digits only. Then after the digit, we have this percentage symbol. So we just type in the percentage symbol into our regular expression. Let me move my cursor up here again. and say find next. So now it finds the combination of digits and the percentage symbol. The next one it will not find because there is a space in between. So you will have to add the space information here as well. So between the digits and the percentage symbol, you put in the marker for the space, and that is a backslash and a small s. Now this stands for one space. So let's find. So we'll find this one, but we don't find the next one because there is more than one space. So memoQ says it has finished searching. It doesn't find a combination of digits, space, and percentage symbol. Now the thing is, as this backslash s says one space, it has to be one space. If we're not sure that it's one space or more, we could say plus. So backslash s and plus means there could be one space or there could be more spaces, which means if I do the find next, it will now find anything that has either one space or more spaces in between. But right now it will not find the one that has no space in between. So then instead of the plus, we put in an asterisk. The asterisk stands for 0, 1, or more. So of the spaces, there could be no space, there could be one space, there could be several spaces. And all of these I would like to find. So let's do it. I'll find this one with no space. I'll find the next one with one space, and this one, and there should be another one. Yes, with the double space inside. So by changing the plus symbol, meaning one or more, to the asterisk, meaning 0, 1 or more, you can find more things. It really depends on what kind of patterns you're looking for in your document. There are quite a lot of things that we can look for. Let's say we have, just close this and go down a little bit. So let's say we have things that have millimeters, centimeters, meters, so different kinds of measurement units. We can also search for those. Let's do the searching again. So we search for digits. We can leave that. So backslash d plus any number of digits. After that, we have, let's say we have millimeter, but we also want to match the meters and the centimeters and the milliliters, for example. And that's where we can come in and create a group of things that can happen after the digits. And the group is always enclosed in round brackets. So we open the round bracket, in the end we close it, and inside we put in all the different measurement units that we have. So millimeters, or centimeters, or milliliters, or meters. The or symbol in between is the pipe character, so that vertical line. So we'll put a pipe in between and say it could be centimeters, or it could be meters, or it could be milliliter. Now let's find 13 meters, 27 centimeters. And here the ml, okay, I'll need to. And this is something you have to be careful about in regular expressions. It now matches the 98m because that's the first thing that it has in its search pattern. It doesn't match the ml for milliliters because that's after being able to match the m. So what we can do is we can change the sequence of what we're looking for. In our regular expression, the m I'm changing to ml, the last one I'm changing to m. So always go from the bigger expression to the smaller expression. And let's search again. So we'll find the millimeters, the meters, the centimeters, the milliliters. So this is something where in regular expressions you very often have to try out a little bit how these regular expressions are actually working, because they don't do what we want them to do. They do what we tell them to do. And in this case, the sequence of how we put in the different options really makes a difference. So now that there is a question where it says, can you do this in whole projects with several languages or only in open documents? That's a really good question and something I wanted to show you anyway. Of course, you can do this searching and replacing inside of a document in the editor, but you can also do that in the list of the documents. So across all the documents that you have in a project. If you are in the list of the documents and open up the find and replace dialog here, you get the same thing, and then you could do a replacement, for example, with a different version number to the name of a product, and just change the numbers or change the sequence around of something that you want to search and replace. So yes, it's possible to not only do this in an open document or in several documents that you opened together in a view, but also across documents that you don't have open in the editor, but just in the list of the documents. So that's possible as well. Now let's move on to something else. Let's go inside the document again. A little bit on search and replace. Now let's imagine my user has just copied the date over into the translation, but actually in the translation, I would like to have a different kind of date format. So I would need to do a search and replace in the target language to change the date formats to whatever I want. Opening the search and replace dialog, Control HH. Putting in the regular expression for searching the date. Of course, you can go with the regex assistant and choose the format there, or you can create it yourself. In this case, I'll do it in a very simple way. I'll say there can be digits, \d plus, any number of digits, then a dot. A dot has its own meaning in regular expressions. It means any character. So I have to be careful with that. If you're actually searching for the dot character itself, you'll have to tell memoQ so that you're not using the dot in its meaning as a regular expression, but as the dot symbol. And that we do with the backslash. So we say \dot. So we have a combination of digits followed by a dot, another combination of digits, \d plus, another dot, and another combination of digits, \d plus. So that's a very, very simple way of getting date formats. Of course, this would also match anything where you have like 5 numbers or 5 digits, then a dot, then 2 numbers, then a dot, then 7 numbers. So this is something to be careful about what you actually have in your project or in your document so that you're not matching the wrong things. But in this case, should be okay. Now, how do we do the replacement? We want to reuse the numbers that we find with our regular expression. And to reuse them, we need to put them into a group. The group we have learned is used with the round brackets. So around the digits that we're going to search, the \d plus, we put these round brackets. So now we have 3 groups for the first set of digits, the second set of digits, and the third one. For the replacement, we can now move these things around. We could say, well, we have 3 different groups, group 1, 2, 3, they're numbered in regular expression. I would like to use the numbers and create an international date. So I would like to reverse the sequence. I would like to have the third number first, then the second one, and then the first one. So I'm going to call the content of the group, of the third group, and that is something we do with a dollar symbol and the number of the group. So I would say whatever was found in the third group, the digits that were found there, I want to see them as a replacement in my search and replace action. Then I would like to have a dash. And as you can see, I've tried it out before, so memoQ does remember a little bit of what you've been doing with the regular expressions. So I would then call up group number 2, $2, and then another dash, and then the content of group number 1. So let's say find the next one and replace this. Now you can see it has inverted the sequence of the numbers. So by searching for these digit groups and reusing them in a different sequence with a different delimiter, I can change the look and feel of my date formats. So there's a lot of things that you can do with these regular expressions and changing around sequences. Actually, That is something that happens quite often if you are translating in certain language pairs, for example, into Turkish. Then you might have to change the sequence of percentage numbers. So in Turkish, usually the percentage comes first and then possibly a space. And after that, we have the actual digits. So if we do a search and replace for that, calling up the dialog, let's see, we have in the source language, let's copy that over. Somebody just copied this and didn't really realize that they have to change the sequence of the characters. So we're looking now for digits followed by a percentage symbol. And in the replacement, we would like to have the percentage symbol first, then a space, and then whatever digits were found in that first group. So $1. Let's find this and replace it. So this is something that you can then do if these things are needed, or somebody has sometimes done it, but not every time, because sometimes they've just copied the source sentence over and haven't adjusted the number and the symbol combination. You can do that with search and replace afterwards. Now let's move on a little bit into placeholders, because that's something that is being used quite often to make the lives of translators easier. That is to make something into a tag so that it can be easily used in the translation. The QA check can find it if the tag is missing or if it's not the same tag as in the source. So they can't go missing, they can't be destroyed, they can't be damaged in any way. And that goes for things like here, for example, a placeholder, dollar symbol and D, a hash symbol and a number, hashes and some kind of placeholder for a name later on here, or maybe even combinations of digits and numbers that need to stay the same, digits and letters that need to stay the same. So for that, we would use the regex tagger, which we can use either inside of the document now, if we find that something still needs to be converted to a tag, or we can use it during the actual import of the document. That's the next step I'm going to show after this one. To use the tagger, we go to the preparation menu, to the regex tagger, and we're going to input all the patterns of the things we want to make into tags. So let's do the one with the hash symbol. It starts with a hash symbol and then has digits. So we have the square brackets, 0 to 9. Don't forget the plus symbol, because there could be more than just one digit. And then as soon as you click on add, memoQ is going to apply this to the sample text down here. And then you will see whatever comes up marked in red, that is what memoQ will recognize and make into a tag. If you click OK, it's now going to convert this type of text into a tag. Now, as long as you're still in the editor at this point, you could undo this tagging by using Control and Z, just undoing things. But as soon as you've closed the document, the tags are in. So then you cannot take the tags off again. You might have to re-import the file and do the tagging again if something went wrong. Let's go into the regex tagger again. What I would usually do is I would put in my regular expression, 0 to 9, and the plus, add it, and then save this configuration so that later on I can use it again if I need it. Or of course, you can also put it into the regex assistant into your own library. But I would usually just save it and say, okay, this is my webinar regex for today. So later on, when I open up another file, I go to the regex tagger, I can then choose it as a configuration. And you can see I've done quite a lot of configurations of different file formats that needed tags afterwards that were not done during the import. So let's take the next one, dollar symbol and D. Now the dollar symbol, as you might remember from the very beginning of the session, the dollar symbol has its own meaning in regular expression. It means end of the line. So to look for the actual dollar symbol, we'll have to do the same as with the dot symbol. We'll have to make sure that memoQ knows we're looking for the symbol. So putting a backslash in front of the dollar. And then say after that, there is one small letter. So square brackets, small a to small z. That's my combination. And then we have something that has hash symbols and capital letters and more hash symbols. Do the same. So we can do like 3 hashes, be very explicit. We could actually say, well, it's always the same thing. We just type it in as it is and make this always a tag. But if these capital letters in between could be different, then we don't want to write it out. Maybe we just want to say in between there could be capital letters. So the square brackets, A to Z, don't forget the plus, because there could be more than one capital letter. So that would be another valid way of tagging up something that looks like this. Or if you don't know how many hashes there would be, there could be 1, there could be 4, there could be 5. Clients are inconsistent here as well. You could say, well, there is a hash. And if you put the plus behind it, it means there could be more than one hash symbol in a row. And here as well. So as you can see, regular expressions is quite versatile. So everybody can do them in their own way. Some like to do it really explicit. Others like to shorten the expression as much as possible. So it's totally up to you how you want to use it. All of them are correct. So we add this. Then we have another thing. We have these capital letters, underscores, and numbers. So let's do that one. We start with the capital letters. Square brackets, A to Z, plus. Several capital letters, then an underscore. And then we have digits. Square brackets, 0 to 9, plus. And this could come up twice. So we can either copy it and say yes. After these letters, we have 2 times the digits with the underscore. Or if you want to shorten it, you could also say, this is a group of characters, put the round brackets around it. And this group in itself, so the underscore plus the digits, can come up several times. So we can put a plus here again. So now the plus applies to the whole group. The plus inside applies to the number of digits. But you can be as explicit as you like, so no problem about that. And add this. Now let's save it and run the tagger. And now we have some really nice tags that are very, very easy to take over. If you press the Control key in a segment that has these kinds of tags, you will get the list of things that can be taken over from the source text to the target text without having to do manual copy and paste. So that's the tagging inside of this document. Let's go to the next one. Here is something that has things that look like HTML tags. Of course, we could tag them up during import of the file, but we can also do that later on when we find that inside of the document there are things we want to make into tags. So preparation, regex tagger. Let's take a look what the regex assistant can do for us, because here in the library I already have any HTML tag. So that would be something I can just copy. I don't have to create it myself. I just copy it and put it in here. Add it to the list. And now down here, I can see everything that comes up in red would become a tag later on. Now let's quickly go through the regular expression here. The angle brackets, they don't have any meaning in regular expression, so you can just put them in as a character. Then we have a dot. A dot means any character. So it can be a letter, it can be a digit, it can be a space, it can be a punctuation mark, it can be anything. Because we don't know what's inside of the tags. Here you can see inside of this tag, there is a, href, equal symbol, dots, letters. Here there's just a B, but here there's a backslash and a B. So whatever comes up between these angle brackets, that's covered by a dot. Now, any of these one characters. If you don't know how many characters there could be, put the plus behind the dot. So we start up with the opening angle bracket, then any kind of character. The plus means there could be a number of those. So I don't know how many characters, but as many as there are. And then we have the ending bracket, the closing bracket. Now I've already also put a question mark before that closing bracket. That's because if you don't do that, let me just take this off. Take off the question mark and change my regular expression, something might happen that I didn't really expect. So not only will it tag the HTML parts like the B and the backslash B, but everything in between. And that's because regular expressions are greedy. They try to match a pattern that is as big as possible. So my regular expression now says go from the very first angle bracket that you find to the very last angle bracket that you find, and everything in between becomes a tag. And that's why I had this question mark right before the closing angle bracket, because that tells memoQ to stop reading as soon as it finds the first closing angle bracket. So if I change that again, now it does the search for the tags one by one. So I'm not tagging too much. This is something to know about regular expressions. So start small, start with the small parts that you can find, and then expand your expression and always see what it does, because sometimes there might be some results that you didn't expect or didn't want. So then you can always go back one step, because I know a lot of people who try to start out with the longest regular expression that they can, and then they afterwards need to try and find out why it didn't work the way they expected it. And of course, there are a lot of different ways of how you can use regular expressions. This is just one way of doing things. So if you have another way of doing your regular expressions, do it as that. No problem about that. So of course, I could mark up my tags like this. And then I could go and mark up the other tags as well. Or of course, I could do that when I import the file. Now let's import this file again. Do a re-import. Let's see, where's my file? I did change the name of the folder in between, so that's why it doesn't recognize automatically the path. So what I would do here now is, for this file, I would change my configuration. I would, first of all, add an HTML filter, makes it easier so that I don't have to tag up these HTML parts myself. I would go to the cascading filters, and once the list comes up, there it is, I'll select HTML. So that takes care of all the HTML things that we've just seen. And then I'm adding another one, and this time again the regex tagger, to do the ones with the symbol, the dollar symbol. That's what I mean, the dollar symbol and the letters. So let's add another cascading filter. Use the regex tagger. So you have now 3 different filters in a row that you're using, and there you type in your regular expression. Now remember, the dollar symbol has its own meaning in regular expression. It needs the backslash in front to search for the symbol directly, and then a small letter with the square brackets, and add. Then you can save this as a cascading filter, so later on you can reuse it for other files that have the same kind of setup. So let's see. Oops, it does give me an error message. Doesn't, oh yeah, okay, I'll have to take it off. Sorry about that. Let's do it again quickly. So we'll have the HTML filter. And the regex tagger. And tag up everything that has backslash and the dollar symbol, and then some lowercase letter. Okay, that should do it. Nope, that's rather strange. It did work yesterday. And just like Yuri said, it's always the same. If you want to show something, it doesn't work the way you expect it. Okay, so we don't have too much time today. I'll just want to show you one last thing for importing files and using regular expressions to extract the text out of the files. For that, I would like to show you one of the files that I have here. Very simple. The client says everything between the quote marks, the double quote marks, needs to be translated. So for that, we do an import with options. And we change from the default plain text import filter, which would import everything that's in the file, we'll change to the so-called regex text filter. And there is a tab that helps you to include or exclude text. And be careful what settings you're using here, because right now we're defining the rules of the content to be excluded. But actually what I want to do is I want to define what should be included. So I have to change the option here. Now I need to give it the delimiters before the translatable text and after the translatable text. From looking at the file, I know it's the double quote. So before the translatable text, there was the double quote, afterwards as well. And the rule in between says what happens with the stuff that's in between these double quotes. And here I say I want to see everything that's in between, any character. So I put in a dot and a plus, which means a dot, any character, a plus, any number of characters. So that's my rule. And then you can go to the preview and check whatever is green would be imported as translatable text. Whatever is red is outside. It stays in the file. So later on, when you've translated the file, it will still be there. But during translation, you will only see the stuff that's in green. Let's take a look. So you would see in the preview, you would see the actual text from the file, and here the stuff that's marked in green. One more thing before we go into the questions. Here is something that's a little bit, it's pretty much the same as what we've had just now with the import, but it also contains things that we might want to put into tags. So you can use this percentage symbol and a letter and then make tags out of that. So actually, we're then combining a regex text filter plus the regex tagger. So again, import with options. Change from the plain text filter to the regex text filter. Include what you want between the quote marks. And it doesn't have to be a single character. It could also be a combination of characters like equal symbol, space, quote marks. That could be the beginning. After that comes the translatable text. And the translatable text ends with a quote mark and a comma. So it can be a combination. Dot plus anything. And then adding the regex tagger. as a second filter. So once the text has been imported, now the tags are being applied to anything that has the percentage symbol and a lowercase letter. Let's take a look. So there we go. Everything that's green has been imported. The red ones are the custom created tags that you yourself have created. And now you can see how these things would look like for the translator. These tags will be just pure text when you export the file again. Now let's see if we do have any questions that have to do with that. So is memoQ working on allowing a regex text filter in which you can include and exclude rules at the same time? Well, actually, a little bit of that can be done if you do an import of a file. Let's just take a look at the regex text filter. It's a two-step process where you could do something like that. So in the regex text filter, there is a paragraph rule, which means you can include paragraphs that start in a certain way. So maybe everything that starts with two hash symbols these are the lines that contain text. So then you would only import what is between the hash symbols. And on that, what you've imported, you can then use the exclude and say, and from that, what has been imported between the hash symbols, there please exclude the following. So yes, there is a little bit of a way to import part of the text file and then exclude another part of that imported stuff. But you have to have a way to identify the paragraphs that you want to import. So they have to start with something special so that you can tell memoQ what part of the text file to import and then go and exclude parts of what you've imported. So another question, is it possible to catch text marked directly in Word files via regex? If you have a Word file imported into the editor, you can do the regex tagger, yes. Also, when you import Word files, you can add the regex tagger as a second step. So if there is something special in a Word file that you would like to tag up, yes, that's possible. All right. I don't see any more questions at the moment. So let me show you one more thing that you can do with the regular expressions. And that is going into the QA settings. So the QA has, let me just edit my settings here, has a tab for regular expressions. And here I've set up a few things and we'll just go through and see what they do. I create my own messages, really. I want to alert somebody that a date format is not correct. So what I do is I recognize that there is a specific pattern in the source. Here it says groups of digits. So there are digits, then a slash, more digits, another slash, and more digits. So that's the format that my date in the source has, which I don't want to see in the target. I do want to reuse the numbers. So in the target, I actually would like to have the second group first, because this is an American date. So the day is the second group and the month is the first. I would like to turn this around. So I would like to see the day first, then the month, then the year. And in between, I would like to have dots. So this would be the regular search and replace that I would expect people to do when they use the date from the source text to the target text. And now my QA check says, if this replacement has not been done, if this is missing from the target text, so here the condition is missing regex replacement in target. So replacement I expect has not been done, it's missing from the target, then I would like to get this description of the error message. Or the next one. Finding incorrect use of spaces. So the correction is there should be no space between the number and the percentage symbol. So this is something that needs to be corrected. And the description is I find incorrect space percentage combinations. So my translation should not have a space between a number and a percentage symbol. What do? I'm looking for the patterns, the wrong patterns in the target. So a group of digits, actually you don't need the group brackets here. You could also do it without. So if there are digits plus a space, \s, possibly more than a space with a plus symbol, and a percentage symbol. So if I have this combination, digits, space, and percentage symbol, then I would like to have the error message, because that's not how it should look like in the translation. So there's a forbidden match, a forbidden regex match in the target, a forbidden pattern in the target. Or there is one about non-breaking spaces. Again, I have digits in the source. I have possibly a space, so \s and the asterisk, there could be a space, there could be no space, there could be several spaces, and then the centimeters after that. What I want to see in the translation is the digits that were found, a non-breaking space, and actually you have to type a non-breaking space here. Unfortunately, your keyboard will not allow you to insert a non-breaking space here. So what I usually do is I create a non-breaking space in a document in the editor and just copy that one over here into the dialog for the regular expression, and that one works. Because in the replacement, we'll have to write the text as we want it to appear. So we cannot use a regular expression for a non-breaking space. It would just then type that code into the translation part, and that's not what we want. So I have the digits from what is in the source, I have my non-breaking space, and I have the centimeters. Again, if this is missing from the target, I want to have the message that something needs to be corrected. So that's for the QA check. And now let's see, what do we have? Can this be used for checking spaces before certain tags? The problem is that with regular expressions, you can match tag types, but not specific tags. So for example, if you use \i tag, that would find any internal tag. So these gray tags, or the ones with the red ones that you create with the regex tagger. But it doesn't help you to find a specific tag that has a specific content. It's not as easy to get inside of the tag. There's another one that's \m tag. These are the memoQ tags, so the ones with the curly brackets, the purple ones. So you can distinguish between internal tags like the gray ones and the red ones, and also specifically search for the M tags, but not really for a tag part itself. And the search and replace, I was just thinking, but I don't think it really works on the tags itself. You can search for content inside of the tags, but then you're searching inside of the tags and not at the same time the space outside of the tag and the content inside of the tag. I don't think that's possible. Would be nice, I know. But as far as I know, or I haven't really found a way to do it yet. It's a nice feature request, yes. So can it be used for replacing the straight apostrophe with the curly one? Well, actually, this is something you can do with the regular search and replace, of course. But yes, you can also do it with the regular expressions. Doesn't matter. The apostrophe doesn't have a meaning in regular expressions. You can just put it in as a search character and then as a replace character. All right. Any more questions? Let me see if I've overlooked anything. Doesn't look like it. Well, it looks like we're through with still 4 minutes to spare. I can just tell you that regular expressions Once you get into it, it's a lot of fun if you want to take the time to work on it. And I really do recommend to check out the regex assistant, because it can be very, very useful. Take a look at the different built-in regex things where it says, okay, you can have a regex conversion, like from 4-digit year or 2-digit year, month and day, into day, month, year with the dashes in between. There's the one to find acronyms. Actually, they've done it a little bit differently than I did. So they've added the \B, which is a sort of a boundary. So the acronyms need to stand alone. They need to have either spaces or punctuation around them. And something else I would like to point out, instead of these square brackets A to Z that I used, which are only good for letters between A and Z, so English letters, they don't catch accented letters. You can also use this \P and the curly brackets and the capital L small u that stands for letter uppercase. This will find all uppercase letters, even if they have accents. Okay, recommendation of a website where all the regular expressions are collected. Not really, because a lot of, well, there are a lot of tutorials, but they always will show you just a single regular expression. So how to use a dot, how to use the plus symbol. So a collection really is more like what you have in this cheat sheet. And I think that's basically what you need to get started with regular expressions. You don't need much more than that, what you have in the list here. I can put together a list of tutorials that I'm using, and we can send it around. Okay, let's see what else. How can you look for a string of alphanumerical characters like machine codes? Okay, we have a string like this. Let me just copy this over. Okay, very simple. I would say I have a combination of capital letters A to Z and digits 0 to 9. I'll have at least, let's say, 3 of those, so that we don't catch anything that only has like one letter or one digit. So I would say it starts with 3 of those and ends with open-ended. So that is something that I would look for. So now it would find anything that has a combination of either only letters or only digits, or letters and digits. If you want to be more specific and you know that it always starts with an A, you would say, okay, it starts with an A, and after that I have a combination of digits and letters, and then you only find the ones that start with an A, and you can be more specific with that. Okay, some correction to another question. Highlighted text in Word files. Formatting. It's possible to read format information from a Word file? No, unfortunately not. That is something that regular expressions cannot do. They cannot look at the formatting of a file like bold or underlined or yellow or highlighted. What I would recommend here is to prepare the Word file and to hide everything that has a certain kind of or put a style on everything that has a certain kind of formatting, and then you can do it with the word filter and put the tags on that style. Excluding specific words, yeah, you could make tags or words into tags. If you say there is a word that always has like my wonderful product, you could basically put that into the tagger and make a tag out of that. Sure, you can do that. So it looks like the session is over. Thank you very much for being here, and maybe join me for the auto translation rules later.